So right now in the world, when we find ourselves in the state of lockdown, there's a lot of questions going on about where am I going, how am I going to strategize, how am I going to earn income, what should I do, how should I do it? But I want to look at it from a different angle and say these are relevant questions at any stage in our lives. Because if we understand the true intent of those questions, and if we really want to strategize and plan for a healthy, quality life, then we need to ask those questions on a regular basis. So today's session is going to be all about how do we ask those questions and what are the correct questions and the strategies, and how do we build that? How do we take ourselves from where we are to become a really amazing, successful person? Or how do we take our business from where we are and make it a phenomenal business in the immediate short term, medium, and over the longer term and times to come? So I trust you're going to enjoy this session with me. Stick with it and really just absorb, learn. There's going to be some practical things you're going to have to do, apply them, and this journey will most certainly assist you. In this session, there's going to be quite a bit of learning for you as a person, but if you're a coach at the moment, a life coach, whatever type of coach, then you're going to have a magnificent amount of techniques and things you can actually take your clients through. This is going to be great for you as an individual, as I say, and as a coach. So use this opportunity. So today's session is going to be about 4 main elements, and I call these elements your true driver, intent, your strategy, and your desired outcome, or the final outcome, or the measure. So those are the 4 key elements I want you just to remember. So it's your true driver, your intent, your strategy, and your outcome. And these are 4 key elements that we use in our lives to achieve success. So tonight's session is how can you as an individual be more successful? How can your business be more successful? How can you take yourself from where you are to being absolutely magnificent and being a really amazing achiever? And if we understand those 4 elements and how they work, then we've got a key to a really great potential success. So let's chat about them and let's start breaking them down in their segments, and let's understand the reasoning behind them and why this is such a critical element in our lives. To create a bit of a platform of understanding, I want to talk about one of the reasons why we very often start something. So I'm going to use an example of a guy by the name of John. So let's make John an imaginary guy. So John looks at his friend. His friend's got a business. His friend's got a beautiful life partner. His friend's got a lot of money. His friend's got a beautiful yacht. And it looks to him like his friend is really enjoying life. And part of John's mind says, I also want to enjoy life. So what John does is John decides to start a business. Now, what John doesn't realize is there's a couple of rules at play here that he didn't understand. So 2 years down the line, John has got no time for himself. John is in no relationship because nobody wants a relationship with someone that's working 23 hours a day. John is not making a lot of money. John is feeling miserable. And John is at a point in his life where he's saying, I don't know what I'm doing. Why is it that my friend is so fantastic, but I'm not? Something must be wrong with me. The error must lie on the way I'm doing. Maybe I'm not working hard enough. And John puts in even more energy and effort, and he puts in even more energy and effort, and he pushes. And still, John is just not getting to a point of happiness, joy, and bliss. So my first question is, when I told you that story, who of you guys went, I recognized myself somewhere in that story? Parts of me very often has pushed hard, putting in energy, time, effort, and somewhere along the line, I realized I'm not getting satisfaction out of this. I'm missing something. There's no joy here. There's no bliss. Everything feels like I have to. I should. I must. I cannot stop. What's going on? Is this life? And there's a secret behind that. Because what we've done is we've approached it the wrong way. So here's what we did, or what John did. It's not us, it's not you, it's John. We're talking about a fictitious character, another guy. So what John did is, John had an idea in his mind. The idea I call the outcome. That was the result he was looking at. So he was looking at the results of his friend's life. And he said, I want those results. Then he reverse engineered it. And he said, how did my friend get those results? My friend got those results by applying the following strategy, this recipe. So if I apply the same recipe, then I should get the same results. And I should have the same outcomes. And I should experience the same joy and pleasure and fun and money and all the benefits that comes along with it. So John went according to an outcome from someone else that was based on a very specific strategy. What he did not realize was that that outcome was driven by an internal value system that he had. Inside of his value system, he's going to need to experience some level of play, of money, freedom, time, success, whatever the case may be. It could be that John even wanted to start the business because he looked at his friend and he saw his friend as being a successful person. And he wanted people to look at him the same way. He wanted people to look at him and say, John is a successful person. So very often a lot of these strategies we start and we use in our lives are based on outcomes we see in other people's lives, but they're also very often based on values that we have that we don't truly understand correctly. Because sometimes values get distorted in our own minds. So I'll give you another practical example. I remember years ago when I grew up, my dad was a surgeon. He was a brilliant surgeon. And part of his value system was that the only real career in life was being a surgeon. I was a bit of a rebel and I didn't study medicine. I didn't even go in the academic route. And I, succeeded in a few areas in my life where I reached really high levels of success. But at no point did I actually feel successful. Because inside of my brain, there was a value that was installed by my dad that said, you're only successful if you are a surgeon. So what happened in my world is I created a false strategy based on drivers that weren't mine, based on values that weren't mine, based on an emotional desire of pleasing my father instead of finding out what Dion really wants. What is Dion really good at? What really gives Dion a high level of pleasure? So very often when we see the outcomes other people experience, we look at that and we say, I want those outcomes. And we copy and paste those strategies in our lives using their value system, or possibly our parents' value system, or our friends, or social media, or someone else's value system. So let's take that first and foremost, that reverse engineering concept. Let's dump it. Let's do it better. So the question is now, how are we going to do it better? And I know you want to learn how to do it better. So this is where we're going. Are you ready? So let's rephrase here quickly. So we understand that we all have desires. Listen, guys, I'm not saying we don't have outcomes that we, are dreaming about. I absolutely agree with outcomes, but let's rephrase this concept. And I want to start where we need to start, and that's by what I call the true driver. So what is a true driver? A true driver is an emotional state. It's an absolute emotional state. It's an emotional state that is aligned with your value system. So if you understand what your true driver is, then you've got the possibility, if you follow the rest of my strategy I'm going to teach you guys on here, that you can get to an outcome where you're actually going to experience joy, happiness, satisfaction, and bliss. That's a simple concept. So what is a true driver? A true driver is the reason behind the reason, behind the reason, behind the reason, the actual reason behind the reason for why you want to do things in life. It is your true driver. It's a pure emotional state, an emotional state that gives you a level of satisfaction that the conscious mind doesn't even comprehend, understand, or can describe. So I want to talk to you guys right now and take you on a journey on how do you Find your true driver. Now, there's two strategies I'm going to teach you guys. The first strategy is a very, very easy one, and I'm going to take you on this journey right now. So what I want you to do is I want you to put your pens down, put your notepads down, and just close your eyes and just go through this process and enjoy it with me. And just allow yourself to go on this magnificent journey of visualization and imagination. And just relax as you do it. So first and foremost, get comfortable. Make sure you got the sound on and there's no disturbances and you're feeling great inside of you. And just completely start to relax. Relax your body, relax your mind, relax every part of you. And just completely go into that very nice, comfortable space that you know you can go into now. And as you relax, I want you to imagine for a moment that you are going on a journey, a beautiful journey with you. And as you imagine, make sure your eyes are closed. And if images come on, just start looking at those images inside of your own mind. And take yourself into your future. A future where you are extremely successful. Where you've achieved your highest goal that you want to achieve in life. A future where things are just working out for you and they're working so well. Life is good. There's money in the bank. You're living in a beautiful place. You've got time to yourself to do what you enjoy doing. But you've got a core value, you've got a core driver of waking up on a Monday morning and going to do what you do. Do what you do that earns you income, that gives you satisfaction, that makes you that person that you've always dreamt of being. I want you for a moment to imagine it's one of those Monday mornings. You're lying in bed and your eyes are closed. You've just woken up and become aware. It's a new day. I want you to realize there's an excitement and a very positive emotion inside of you because of this new day with amazing opportunities. And you get out of bed and you start getting dressed. What are you wearing? What type of clothing are you putting on? What style of clothing? What is the look you're going for today? Because you're going on your way now to that magnificent place where you're going to do that which gives you joy and pleasure and satisfaction. How are you going to get there? Are you going to drive? Are you going to take a cab? Is someone going to drive you? Maybe even going there in a big limousine. I want you to imagine yourself being dressed immaculately in that clothing that you're going to wear. Transporting, moving to that place of work where you're going to go today. What does that building look like? Where is that place? Is there a name on the outside? Is your name on the outside? What does that place look like? When you enter, what do the people look like? What are you noticing around you? What is the image and the emotion that you're already feeling inside of you about this place where you're doing these magnificent things? What are the people calling you? What is the title you carry? Are you the owner? What is the name they use when they speak to you? How do they speak to you? Is there respect, awe, admiration? What is going on with the people? What are they keeping themselves busy with? What are they doing for a living? Where in this building are you going? And what's your role? What's your job title going to be? What are you going to do today? And I want yourself to fast track this a little bit and notice where you're doing what you're doing. Maybe you're standing on a stage. Maybe you're in an office. Maybe you're creating something. Maybe you're on a beach. Doesn't matter where you are. You know where you are. Where are you and what are you doing? And I want you to start enjoying while you're doing it. And notice the emotion inside of you, what you do when you're doing this. Notice where in your body you're feeling this emotion. Notice the positive feeling about that emotion. That's a good emotion. And I want you to focus on it and make it even stronger. Make that emotion really powerful and feel it in every fiber of your body. Now identify exactly where it is. Put your hand on that part of your body where you're feeling that right now. Now give that emotion a name. What are you calling that emotion? Give it a name. Give it a very clear name. So when you think about that emotion tomorrow, you will remember the name links to this emotion. Not only will you remember the emotion, you'll feel it again. So make that emotion very strong. Put your hand on where you feel it and give that a name and say that name out loud right now. That's good. Now take your pen and paper and write down that name of that emotion. because this is step one. Now you've identified that emotion. I told you previously, you can open your eyes, you can follow the training now. I told you previously, I'm going to teach you 2 strategies on how to get to that true driver. That's strategy 1. Second strategy you can try is, if you're not very good at creative visualization, some people are really magnificent, some people struggle with it, depending on where you are. There's a second strategy. Take a piece of paper, or a pad of paper, sorry. Pen, lock yourself in a room. At the heading, write down, I am the following person. I am a happy person. I am satisfied and life is blissful. And this creates this wonderful feeling inside of me. That's your heading. Now, go sit down and start writing anything that comes to mind. Any behavior, any action, any thought, anything. Write short sentences, couple of words only, and start writing, start writing. As you write the one down, write the next thought in your brain. Write the next one, write the next one. Keep writing. For how long? Answer is easy. You write until you cry. You write until there's such a strong emotion building up in you that you feel like crying. And when you read the last thing you wrote down on that piece of paper, what you're going to read is what your true driver is all about. That's the essence of you. So first, before you continue with this teaching, you can do either one of those 2 strategies. Give it a name, write it down, recognize where you feel it, make it strong so you can remember it, because you're going to need it for the next step. Let's talk about intent. What exactly is intent? What is it not? And how would we define it? And how will it help me? So the first thing we did now was obviously to get your true driver. So now you've got your true driver, you've given it a name, and you're feeling amazing about it. Now, your true driver, as I said earlier, that's an emotional state. All right. So emotions usually function on a subconscious level. Emotion is something that is very difficult sometimes to describe, to put into words, and to make more of an intellectual concept in our brain. So the moment I use the word intent, intent is now the emotion that you take from your subconscious, from deep inside of you, and you now shift that up into your intellectual brain. So intent is an intellectual description of the emotion. So let's make it very, very practical here and very easy and quick. So if I have to take myself through the previous process, then I'm a trainer. You know, my vision, my experience was, I woke up, I drove a Porsche, by the way. I dressed smart, better than this. I was like, you know, all dressed up in a fancy tailored suit and everything else. And I traveled to this magnificent building that had my name on it. And I got there in a Porsche, and it was a beautiful Porsche. And I really enjoyed the trip, just getting there, let alone arriving there. And what I did there was I spoke to a whole lot of people. I'm a trainer. I'm an imparter of knowledge and wisdom and understanding. I take concepts and I like to break them down, reconstruct them, and teach them to people. That's my passion. That's what drives me. That's my true driver. So the name I gave it, and don't giggle, but that's the name I gave it. I gave it the name Awesome. I like being awesome. I love the word awesome. It's a very descriptive word. And when I hear the word awesome, I feel awesome. And awesomeness is that thing that drives me. And it's not just about me. It's also making people awesome. So there's a very dual emotional attachment to this. But if I take the word awesome, which is merely a descriptive emotional word, and I take that into my intellectual brain, and I now have to define intent, then my definition of intent is very simplistic. Imparting knowledge. I'm a teacher. I'm a storyteller. That's my intent. So if you want to make me happy, if people want to see me in a space where I'm happy, give me an opportunity to tell a story, to teach something, and to impart knowledge and wisdom and understanding. I do it wherever I go. If I socialize with friends, or even, when my kids have their friends over, my kids are now in their early 30s already, and their friends come over, and we sit down and we chat, and I quickly find myself becoming trainer. I'm this guy. That's who I am. I go on holiday, on scuba diving holidays, and I go to the magnificent resorts, and I go do a dive in the morning and a second dive later, and I come back and I do that. By day 2 or 3, when I come out of the water and I'm back at the camp, I've got people sitting there, and I'm coaching and I'm teaching and I'm imparting knowledge and wisdom, because that's what I enjoy. That's my driver. That's my true driver. It comes, I cannot not do it. It makes me happy. It makes me feel awesome. So my intent is intellectual description of what feeds my true driver. And that is by teaching, by training, by imparting knowledge. Now, here's the cool thing I want you guys to understand. Because a lot of guys get stuck in the how to achieve these things. If you understand your true driver correctly, and you can define the intent correctly, the strategy to achieve it becomes remarkably easy and simplistic. Plus, the variety of options you now will have becomes even easier. And we're going to get there in a moment. So for now, I want you guys to understand what is your intent. So write down just a short sentence, maybe 2, taking that emotion, attaching an intellectual description to it, and putting that down on a piece of paper, because that's your intent. Now, I trust that makes a lot of sense to you guys. Now, I'm going to give this a little bit of a different spin, just to give you a different angle of understanding. A lot of people talk about personal mission and vision statements. And I'm sure you've heard of these. Companies have got it, people have got it. It's a critical component in life. Another word you can use in the place of intent is mission. Your intent and your mission statement in your life is very, very similar. The main difference between the two is when I use the word intent, I'm talking about a very short description. If you're going to talk about a mission statement, then that description might just be a little bit longer. There's another component to intent that is fairly important for us to really comprehend and understand. Now, your driver, let's just go back to the driver quickly for a second. Your original driver, we spoke a lot about values and emotion in the driver. When I talk about intent, I want to talk about beliefs, personal beliefs. So this is where we take this up a little bit of a different notch. So if I use the word beliefs, what comes to mind? Beliefs about what? A lot of people will immediately think spiritual or religious beliefs. But I want you to start thinking about what beliefs do you hold about yourself? What do you believe about yourself? Do you believe that you are capable? What do you believe about your talents, your gifts, your abilities? Do you believe that you are loved? Do you believe that you can love? Do you believe that you're intelligent? Do you believe that maybe you're too long or too short? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about the people around you? What do you believe about the perception other people have about you, or other people's opinions about you? What do you believe about your talents and your gifts and your potential to create magnificent strategies and do beautiful things in life? What do you believe about the country you live in? What do you believe about the economy of the world? All these components of what is inside of your belief system will have a major impact on your intent. Now, what I want you guys to realize here, the moment you start writing down your intent, one of the things that could happen is something in your brain can say, no, I can't put that down. No, I shouldn't write that. Listen, one of the concepts we have is that we get brought up to be humble. But there's a concept in humility that's actually a false humility. The moment you stand back and say, well, maybe I am not good enough, that's a false humility. You need to realize you are. The moment your belief system becomes your handbrake, your intent that you are now creating cannot be a true, justifiable, and accurate intent. Push your belief system to a level where you've never experienced it before. Push your belief system outside of your boundaries of comfort. Push your belief system to a level of dreamland, to a place where you realize magnificent only exists. Because the moment you do that, you can start defining your intent better, not just for the now, but also for the future. You are not the same person today than what you will be a year from now. You'll be a better person a year from now. And the further you can get your intent to reach and challenge your beliefs about yourself, taking yourself out of your comfort zone into a level of absolute personal magnificence, the more your intent can start creating an excitement and a drive inside of you, a persistence that forces you to go way above and beyond to ensure that you make manifest your intent. Intent is a beautiful, powerful concept if you put it on steroids and make it magnificent. With your intent, don't be mediocre. Mediocrity is only acceptable by medium people. You're not medium. You are amazing. You are magnificent. Put it out there. Take your belief system about yourself, expand it, make it great. Now ask yourself, what is my intent? How am I going to achieve? Let me take that emotion, pull it into my intellect, and now let me give it a new name. Let me give it a new sentence. Let me give it a new definition. Take it and make it awesome, because that's who you are. So now let's talk about the strategy. And I'm going through these 4 points very quickly now, because there's a couple of curveballs I want to give you guys a little bit later. So don't think once I've delivered these 4 points, this section is over or this video is over. There's quite a bit coming that I trust is really going to make you a better person. So let's talk about the strategy. So I've got my true driver. I've now got my intent defined, and I'm feeling all, I'm ready. So what is the strategy? The strategy is nothing else but the recipe, the how, the plan. If my intent is very pure, if my intent is now very well defined, to build a strategy becomes actually quite easily. And the nice thing is, if my intent is pure, my strategy can be very flexible, or I can have more than one. I'll give you an example. I told you earlier, my whole concept in life, or my pleasure, my joy, my fun, is to be awesome, is to impart knowledge and teach people. So what does my strategy look like? Well, for most of the last 12 years I've been doing this full time, my strategy has been one of standing in front of a classroom with people in front of me. But then coronavirus came along and decided to lock us into a small room. So what has happened? Well, what's happened is I cannot stand in front of a classroom like I used to. Now, most people, when they're faced with a situation where their strategy cannot now be exercised, they go into panic. Does that ring a bell? They go into a fear state. And the reason we go into panic or fear is because we don't really understand the true driver and the true intent. Because all I have to do the moment my strategy gets challenged is ask myself a very simplistic question. And that is, what other strategies can I apply? How many more can I come up with? And in the last 2 weeks, I've come up with a number of amazing strategies. And I'm enjoying and loving them because they're all feeding back to my pure driver, my true driver, and my true intent. And that is the key about building strategies. If you understand the first two, strategies become easy. Strategies become numerous. How many strategies can you come up with? There is a trick about strategies, however. There is a concept that can be the handbrake when you start building strategies. And that is a belief about external factors. Now, I want you guys to understand, previously I also spoke about beliefs. But most of those beliefs were internal beliefs, beliefs that you believe from your internal platform. When it comes to strategies, you need to understand what is the external beliefs. In other words, what do other people believe about you, about your strategy? And you need to be able to very carefully discern between which ones you should lend your ear to and which ones you should not. I'll make it practical. When I started this business, I had a successful career before this. I was doing very well. And I made a decision that I want to fulfill this true driver in me because my previous career wasn't. So I wanted to fulfill this true driver in me, and I wanted to really fulfill my true intention and live up to what I want to be. So I built a strategy, and the strategy was to resign from what I was doing and start doing this. And the moment I started sharing that with people that knew me well, family, friends, colleagues, clients, People told me I'm insane. I said, you're stupid. You're crazy. Look at the economy. Look at the market. It's saturated. There's no way is this place for you in this field, Dion. It'll never work. And they called me absolutely crazy. The strange thing is the same people that called me crazy 12 years ago, you know what they're saying today? They're saying, Dion, brother, you saw a gap no one else saw. Genius, man. Genius. And I learned a small lesson from that. We very often lend our ears out to the opinions of others. But I want to tell you a little secret about life. The only difference between insanity and genius lies in the results and the outcomes. The only difference between insanity and genius lies in the results and the outcomes. If people tell you you're insane, check first, is this based on my true driver? Is my intent pure? Do I have a strategy that can work? And do yourself a favor. And sometimes, guys, not always, if I'm talking to mature people here, if your strategy is going to be to jump off a 17-story building to prove that you can fly like Superman and people call you insane, well, maybe they're right. Be mature about this when you look at this concept. I'm talking about taking on those hairy, scary, amazing, audacious, big dreams you've had, because you've had them for a long time and they've been turning inside of you. Now is the time to make them happen. Get out of your comfort zones and start acting on it. Start building that strategy. Start putting that plan together and get it down on paper. Go sit with a coach if you have to. Go sit with a strategist if you have to. But get it down, get it done. Because that driver, if it's true, if that intent is based on a true driver, that strategy is going to be easy. And guess what's going to happen? You won't rest until you've got it. Now, I hope you're starting to feel a little bit as excited about this as I do, because this has changed my life. This concept I live by, and it really has changed my life. Now, I want to give you a quick spin. I want you to understand something quickly about the difference between your conscious and your subconscious mind. When you lie in bed at night, sometimes you wake up at 3 o'clock. If you're anything like me, you struggle to fall asleep because your brain is active. It's building strategy, it's making plans, it's taking over the world on a Saturday. And your brain is busy at night. And I struggle to sleep because my brain is active. So I've got a whiteboard in my bedroom that I can make notes on during the night. 3 o'clock sometimes I'll wake up and I've got these ideas in my head. I've got to write them down because they're all strategy ideas. Here's the thing we often experience in those times, those late nights or middle of the night thoughts. Have you noticed how genius you are those times of the nights? I want to explain something. What happens at that time of the night? Your brain goes into what's called a beta state. It goes into a very, go and Google it. It goes into a very relaxed, calm state. It goes into a very creative state. And that's a time when your brain is not functioning with your conscious brain. It is functioning more with the unconscious and the subconscious brain, because that's where your genius lies. That's where your magnificent thoughts actually come from. That's where you connect it to the real true genius. Now, when you lie in bed and you have those amazing thoughts, that's your subconscious. Now, I want you to realize your conscious brain is only about 5% as capable as your subconscious brain. So first understand your conscious brain is the dumb part of the brain. The subconscious is the genius part of the brain. When you dream these magnificent dreams, these audacious things that you want to achieve in life, and you dream them in the middle of the night or early in the mornings, and tomorrow morning you wake up and you try and remember those dreams, have you noticed you cannot comprehend completely what you think? You can't remember everything, and it's like it's a little bit of an overload of information and sometimes very scary. The reason it's overloaded and so scary is because you're taking something from the genius part of your brain, your subconscious, and you're trying to squeeze it into your dumb part of your brain. It's only about 5% of your active brain, really. And you're trying to understand it with the dumb part of your brain. Really? Doesn't work, does it? So what you need to do is you need to get yourself into that alpha state. Allow those genius thoughts to start coming up. Put them down on paper. Wake up tomorrow morning so you can read them. Start breaking them down so that you can understand that these are all components of your strategy, and start bringing those thoughts into your strategy. because those are your genius, magnificent thoughts. And if someone else believes they're crazy, tell them to watch this video. And then we have a conversation after that. So I hope you guys got an understanding about strategy. Strategy, to a certain extent, can also be called a well-formed plan, a how-to, a project plan on how to achieve it. So you can really get lost in the detail of that, or you can just write a practical one that's going to serve you. If you need to get in contact with a great coach, I know someone, his name is Dion. He does webinars like these, and even he can help you build that amazing strategy once you're ready. So on the next session now, we need to go to outcomes, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit shortly about outcomes, and then I want to give you a couple of very practical bonus add-ons on some of the secrets in these 4 components that I'm teaching you. So let's now look at the word outcome. And again, you've noticed I give a lot of words different definitions. I like giving them a different approach because it forces people to start thinking differently. And the more we can think differently, the more options we start creating for ourselves in this world. And my slogan in my company is change your mind, change your life. You know, the moment we think differently, we can change everything around us. And that's such a great opportunity. So I love changing and challenging people to think differently. So when we use the word outcome, usually, especially inside of a coaching environment, a lot of people look at outcome as, you know, what do you want? How do you want? What must it look like? When can you start? And all the details. What you've noticed in the previous session, a lot of that is in the actual, in the strategy. So what is the outcome then? The outcome is exactly what the word describes. It's an outcome. It is something that happens because of something that happened before it. An outcome is a result. It is a measure. It is something that happens because of. It is an outcome. So there's some kind of an action, there's a behavior, there's something that now happens, and now there's an outcome. Now there's something that happens. And when I look at people, when I talk to people, they often try and start with the outcome, and they try and, as I said earlier, is to reverse engineer this thing backwards. And I giggle about that because the moment we do that, then you misconstrued outcomes that you're looking for in your mind, because then your outcome is usually something that someone else wants or something that you believe someone might want. Let me give you an example. Who of you guys have got a really grand cell phone? I've got a very fancy cell phone at the moment. I've got the new, I think it's a Note 10 or something. It's a brilliant cell phone. Reality is I can't really use a lot of the functionalities on the phone. I'm not that technically great. I'm not, you know, stupid with it, but I don't know half the stuff on that phone. So why have I got it? Well, maybe it makes me look cool. Maybe if I walk around with a fancy phone, it impresses other people. That could be one of the reasons. That could be one of the outcomes that got me to actually purchase the phone. Outcomes very often are based on false emotions. We look for outcomes based on false emotions. Now, the moment I say false emotions, I want you guys to realize something about a false emotion. It's a very strange thing. Do you realize that a lot of the stuff you do in your life, a lot of the clothes you buy, the house you live in, the type of career you followed, the way you communicate, the way you present yourself, the way you deliver yourself, a huge amount of things we do in life, it's because we do them because we want to please other people. Now, no, not medium, really. If a lot of the guys watching this, I know you're probably in some kind of a coaching or person-to-person type of industry. And that makes you a little bit of an empath a lot of the time. If you've got any form of empath in you, and an empath is someone that realizes someone else's emotions and wants to satisfy them, then there's a need for you to satisfy other people and keep them happy. Are you starting to get this? The moment we start looking at outcomes in life, and we look at outcomes in life because it makes other people happy, we start distorting the real outcomes we need to make us happy and satisfied in life. We need to realize that the outcomes we look for in life must be built on a solid foundation. An outcome that's built on an emotion to please other people is literally like building your house on sand. There's no solid foundation for it to stand on, survive, and, take on all the winds and the weather. An outcome needs to be built on true drivers, true intents, true strategies, and that's the only way outcomes can be sustainable. Because in the end of it, in the long run, sustainability with whatever strategy you want, and a sustainable long-term outcome is the ideal you're looking for. If the outcomes that you are achieving in life are only short-termed, then it means very often there's something wrong in your driver, your intent, or in your strategy. But if those three are in place, then your outcomes become consistent. A lot of people that I coach talk about consistency, and they will phone me up or send me a message and say, Dion, can you coach me to be more consistent? I want you guys to realize consistency is not something that you need to apply. A lot of people say, it's discipline. Let me explain something. If there's something in your life that you enjoy doing, I'll use a practical example. Let's take something that I enjoy. I love speed. I love motorbikes. I love riding a motorbike on a racetrack obviously as fast as I possibly can. Now, do you think that I will ever procrastinate or say no to an opportunity to go ride a fantastic motorbike on a fantastic track? Do you think I will find myself in a position to say, no, you know what, I'm actually a bit too lazy today for that? No. The things we enjoy in life, we don't need someone or something to push us into consistency. If it's built on a proper foundation, consistency is a result. Doing it over and over is one of the outcomes. That's one of the beautiful benefits if you follow the strategy. If you're doing something where you are not consistent, then you need to question your strategy and your drivers and your intent. Because if those are pure, consistency and a wonderful, amazing outcome, and a consistency of outcomes will be natural. It'll be a result of. In fact, if those first three pillars are in place, you will not be able to not have the positive outcomes. Nobody would be able to put a lid on it. It will happen. And that's the main concept that people just don't always get. The moment you're in a situation where it's forced, where the words have to, should, must, now you must wake up early to go and do that. The moment those words start coming into your language patterns, you need to start asking questions about it. Something is missing. If the words, I want to, oh, I can't wait, I'm so thrilled, this is going to be fun, this is going to be exciting, this is the real me, there's something driving in me, I can't even put my finger on it, I don't know what it is, it's just happening, then you know you're in that sweet spot. It's another component or another word that often comes up is people come to me and say, Dion, can you help me find my passion? Because if I know what I'm passionate about, then I know that I can build that into a career, and then I can be successful. Passion is a result of a good understanding of your drivers and your intents and your strategies. Passion is not something you chase. Passion is something that pushes you. Passion is something that's not in front of you that you need to go and find, put into a suitcase and take it wherever you go. Passion is something that's standing behind you, pushing you forward the whole time. Passion is something that happens automatically if you find yourself in synchronicity with the three main pillars of the successful outcomes that you need in life. Passion is not something you need to chase. Passion chases you. Passion is something it's like enthusiasm. It's extremely transferable. If your first three drivers are in place, if you know what your true driver is, your intent is, and your strategy is in place, and you start talking about it, people get excited with you. That's called enthusiasm. It comes from a word in the roots that says entheos, which is a transference of the creator. And it's in the simple definition I gave it, it is when you talk, people can see the capability of making your words make manifest. So when you talk with enthusiasm, there's something pushing you from behind, that even when you communicate with other people, they notice that there's passion in you, there's enthusiasm, there's commitment, there's tenacity, there's sustainability. Everything is falling into place. But all of these things are a result. It's not something you chase in the first place. These are all the result of. And that's the clear outcome that people need to achieve, need to push for, and will find if you build your house on the correct foundation. All right, so let's do a little bit of what I call the bonus section. The bonus section is a few tips, some help, techniques on how to really make this thing truly successful. So one of the components, usually when I teach this, or one of the challenges I get or questions I get is people say, I've tried something similar, Dion, but I get despondent. I run out of steam. And I have touched on it a little bit about sustainability. And if your driver is really pure, then you shouldn't run out of steam and you shouldn't get despondent. But we do find ourselves in situations where external factors, could throw a curveball, and that might make you a little bit despondent. So how do you overcome that? I think that's the area we need to focus on rather. So the answer is very, very simple, and that is remind yourself of the true driver. So when you get despondent, remind yourself of the true driver. You need to keep it in front of you, almost like a carrot. How do you make a donkey walk? You keep a carrot in front of him. And we humans, we're similar to donkeys in certain cases. We also like a little bit of a carrot. And your true driver is your real carrot. That's the thing. So a practical way, and I love doing this, a practical way of applying this is by doing your positive affirmations. Now, the moment I say positive affirmations, I sometimes get a little bit itchy because there's people that don't really understand how to do them properly. But this is not a teaching about that. So in short, every morning when you wake up, do a positive affirmation that talks about your true driver. Remind yourself of that amazing emotion. Remind yourself of that amazing intent. Remind yourself of that amazing strategy. Speak it with your mouth so that your ears can hear it, so that your heart can start believing it. And the more you do it, the more real it becomes in your life. The more magnificent it becomes, and the more powerful it becomes in your life. So it's very important to consistently remind yourself of where you're going on this journey. And the only person who can do that is you. So you're the captain of that ship. You're the one that needs to remind yourself every morning. And the easiest way to do that is wake up and say, I'm awesome. I'm an awesome teacher. I inspire people. I teach. I take complex concepts and I repackage it and I deliver it to people. This is who I am. This is my intent in life. This is what brings me joy. And I'm doing this through a variety of different platforms. That's how you remind yourself. Because if you keep doing that, you'll start notice. You don't get despondent anymore. The next reason why that positive affirmation and that personal reminder really works, and one of the magic tricks with it, is what it does, it stimulates what's called your reticular activating system. It's a part inside of your brain that's inside of your neurons, and it's responsible for arousal. Now, the moment I say arousal, a lot of people, get thoughts in your own direction about it. But arousal is being very much aware of a specific thing. So remember the last time you bought a motor vehicle, and all of a sudden you started to notice how many motor vehicles of the same make is on the road. Or maybe you just got pregnant and suddenly you start seeing people with prams. Arousal is when your brain is stimulated to find more proof of the same. And what the brain does, it looks for more proof. Now here's the beauty of this. If your true driver is an emotion, and you keep repeating that, reminding yourself of it, what you're doing is you're stimulating your brain, your neurons, the functionality, the reticular activating system, to go and find more options, opportunities, and proof of. That starts influencing your strategy. Because all of a sudden now inside of your strategy, you've got a wider variety of options, options you've never thought of before. But because you've stimulated your brain to find them, your brain will find them. And that's the amazing thing about the human brain. So repeat that emotion, repeat that strategy, and allow your brain to show you more opportunities, more options, and more possibilities about it in life. Now, I know some of you guys are sitting there and going, yeah, but Dion, this is scary. This is scary. I'm thinking about this, and I'm starting to strategize all these things, and I'm starting to feel scared. It's fear. I want to talk about fear for a second. And I want to put fear into perspective so you can understand how fear impacts your performance and your amazing excellence that's already inside of you. As humans, we're only born with one natural fear. And that natural fear is the fear of the unknown. It manifests in different ways. One of the ways is we're scared of the dark. The reason we're scared of the dark is because it's unknown. We cannot see what's going on there. We fear the unknown. That's why we don't jump off buildings, because we don't know what it's going to feel like to land. That's why we don't run into a cave. Neanderthal man only survived because the fear of the unknown was natural to him. If it wasn't there, he would have run into a dark cave and the bear would have bitten his head off, and we would not be here today. So the fear of the unknown has protected us as humans, but it's still a component that is still very much alive inside of us. But now, why am I telling you this? I want you to understand something. If you've never ever in your life reached the level of amazing, magnificence, greatness, efficiency, effectiveness, and success that you are truly capable of, if you've never reached it before, that level is an unknown to you. The moment your brain starts putting the strategy together, putting the plan in place, and it starts experiencing this excitement, this enthusiasm, this passion to go into that space, part of your brain says, I've never been there. This is unknown. And that's where that protective fear starts coming in. Because your brain doesn't like going to the unknown. It's a protective mechanism. But it's a protective mechanism that protected Neanderthal man. You are not Neanderthal. You are well developed and sophisticated. So you have a thing that Neanderthal didn't have. Will. You've got an intellectual understanding of the power of the will. And when you go into that fear state, there's only one way you overcome it. You apply your will, mix in a little bit of courage, and you act. And you start doing, and you start behaving according to the strategy. Because fear will hold you back as long as you allow it. Fear is always, by the way, in the future. Fear is never in the now. You might think you're feeling it in the now. The only reason you're feeling it is because part of your brain cannot differentiate between yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Fear is always projected into your future. Do you really want to tell me you're going to allow something that has never happened in your future to hold you back from taking action in the now so that you can create a magnificent tomorrow? Sounds silly, doesn't it? So let's take fear, ignore it, apply courage, and magnificence, start acting. Linked to fear, I want to explain another component just quickly, just to help you through this process. Now, some of you guys have already gone and started strategizing. While I've been on this, your brain has already started. And part of your brain went, okay, hold on a second. Here's something I'm seeing that's wrong. Here's a problem. Here's a potential obstacle. Here's something that can prevent this from happening. So let me explain to you something magnificent about your human brain. If I put you into my motor car, my motor vehicle, and I've got a crack on my windscreen, how will your brain know that there is a crack? In other words, the crack is the problem. How will your brain know there is a problem? The only way your brain can recognize the crack in my windscreen is because your brain knows what the windscreen looks like without the crack. Geez, like, I hope you got that. The only way your brain can identify a problem is because inside of your brain, you already can identify the solution. Your brain cannot identify the problem if it doesn't know what the solution is. It needs an understanding of the one to comprehend the other. You can only know there's a crack if you know what a windscreen looks like without the crack. It is as simple as that. If a problem pops up into your brain, don't allow the problem to master you. When you get in my vehicle and there's a crack in my windscreen, you're not going to look at the crack and only the crack. You're going to start noticing the rest of the windscreen that does not have a crack. You're also going to know how to fix the crack or how to replace the windscreen. Because if you can identify the problem, you've already got the solution. Make sense? Two more points that I really want to bring across to you guys on this. The one point is when you're going to start building that original driver and you're going to start structuring that intent needs to be what we call a towards strategy. Now in life, our brains usually create two types of strategies. The one's called a towards and the other one's called an away. And I'm going to give you a very simplistic explanation of the two. An away from strategy is a fear-based strategy. It's a strategy that wants to avoid something negative or some kind of a pain. In simple terms, a lot of people would go on a diet because they don't want to be overweight because of the negative emotions or the side effects of being overweight gives them. So they want to go on a diet because they don't want to be overweight. So you want to do something because you don't want something else. That's an away from strategy. That's an avoidance strategy. That's trying to avoid one thing and trying to do something else to avoid it. The problem with that strategy is the moment the fear of what you don't want dissipates, the strategy collapses. That's one of the reasons why the diet industry is such a huge industry in the world, because people don't want to be overweight. So they take on a strategy of going onto a diet or taking some kind of a pill or medication, but then at some stage the fear of being overweight is outweighed by the chocolate cake and the strategy collapses. It's very simple. So what type of strategy do you want? You want one that is a towards strategy. A towards strategy has always got some kind of a pleasure, reward, fun, excitement, something nice at the end of it. A towards strategy is something positive. So if someone is overweight and they want to go on a diet, and they say, I want to go on a diet because I'm overweight. I said to them, hold on, let's reframe this. If you go on a diet, you really get this magnificent body. What will you get from it? I'll say, I'll feel fantastic. I will have more energy. I'll get a better response from people. That's the reason you go on the diet. That's your towards strategy. You go on a diet because you want to have more energy, you want to have a better, fulfilled life, and you want to get a better response from other people. That's a towards strategy. Now that strategy has got the opportunity of being sustainable. And away from a strategy, never sustainable. Towards strategy, sustainable. Very simplistic. Now, we get into the end of this, and I want to touch on one last statement that I'm fairly certain a lot of you guys have already had going through your brains, because this is something I get a lot from my clients. And the response they usually tell me is, you know, Dion, I love what you've just said and what we've gone through and everything else, but I'm petrified and I'm fearful. But I'm fearful and petrified because I've made so many mistakes in the past that I am concerned I might make some of them again in the future. And the mistakes I've made in the past, because of the failures, I'm really scared to take action now. So I just want to give that concept a little bit of a challenge, and this is going to be the last section for this training video. Failure is a man-made concept. Think about it this way. If you were born and you started to learn to walk, and the concept of failure existed in your brain, how many times would you fall before you stopped trying to walk? If failure was natural, a baby would not learn to walk. If failure was natural, you'd go goo goo gaga when you're trying to talk at the beginning of your life, and you'll actually give up because you'll notice you can't do this. This is too difficult. I've tried it so many times, and yet people are not realizing what I'm trying to say. Failure is a man-made principle that has been developed, I personally believe, to suppress the thoughts and joy of other people. The only natural thing we have is feedback. When a kid tried to walk, you made mistakes in your walking process, and everything was a learning process, and everything was feedback. And that is what took you from where you are to the next level. Life does not have failures. Life only has some really amazing feedback that teaches us. Even good things that happens to us is feedback. Good things that happens to us tells us, if I do this, I get a positive outcome. This is wonderful, I like this, I'm going to do it again. That's not failure. So how can something then be that I do this, I'm not getting the outcome I'm looking for, which means I need to do it differently to get the outcome I'm looking for. Everything is just feedback. Everything is a learning experience. If you allow yourself to get stuck in fear, you're most welcome. But I want to remind you of something. Did you know that you are a genius? You've got an unconscious, subconscious mind. You've got a conscious brain, which is a very small part. If you look at the size of your conscious brain, it's only about 5% of your unconscious and subconscious brain. And the rest of it is absolute genius and it's brilliance. Just because you haven't tapped into it or you haven't allowed it to fully come to its surface and manifest, doesn't mean you haven't got genius in you. You've got it in you. You know it. When you look in a mirror, you know it. You know that inside of you there's a lot of potential, there's capabilities, there's skills, there's talents, there's gifts. You know as well as I do, if you start getting your true drivers in place, getting excited about that whole intent of doing things, getting that strategy down on paper, and start taking action based from courage and start stepping up and becoming a better person, that will become your new addiction in life, to become a better version of self. Because none of us has ever reached our full potential. There's always something better. There's always something more. Tomorrow creates great opportunity for you to be a better person and a better version of self. And I hope this learning and this teaching has really given you something to ponder about, and it's really going to take you to a next level and bring you more success, more joy, more love, more health, pleasure, and amazing rewards in your life. If there's some of the components you're struggling with, you can see my web address on the screen. I'm also going to add my personal email address. You are most welcome. Pop me an email and let me see if I can help you or coach you or take you on a journey where we can take you to an even higher level that you deserve. So from me, Dion, I bid you farewell and thank you very much. Thank you for your time for watching this. I appreciate your time. It's precious. It's the most precious gift we have. And I thank you for sharing this.